Hi guys, Tara here. Welcome to another Crafting with Curly Cues video. I am so excited to be celebrating 200 YouTube subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to give some stuff away today. So I'm going to start with this little project of making a couple of place cards for your Thanksgiving table. So I'm using a couple of stitched rectangle dies from Fawn and this adorable paper pad by Echo Park. I wanted to show you some of this really fun fall patterns they've got in there. And as you could see there, I just took a couple of the smaller rectangles and I used post-it tape to stick them together to create a frame. And then I'm going to take these small stitched leaves dies from Fawn. This is part of their new autumn winter release that I'm obsessed with. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like every video has been featuring something from this release. I love every single part of it. And I'm going to snip these dies apart. They're brand new, so I've just got some little wire trimmers that are normally used for like jewelry making, and I'm just going to snip all those little metal pieces apart. For my project, I'm going to use the two smallest leaves that came in that die set, and I am going to take some of the cream cardstock from Simon Says Stamp that was left over from making the bases for my place cards and cut a bunch of those little leaves out using my Big Shot. I'm doing everything in sets of 4, so I'm not going to show you all 4 of everything just because it's the same process, but just so you know, that's why I have so many supplies sitting out there. I'm going to use my Memento Tuxedo Black ink and this adorable Thankful Mice stamp set, which I thought was appropriate because I am here to give thanks to all of you today for supporting me and subscribing to my YouTube channel. So I really wanted to use this set. And I'm going to put both of those little mice on my acrylic block and use my Memento ink to stamp them on some scrap Nina 110-pound Solar White cardstock. And then I'm going to use my Copic markers to go ahead and color these adorable little pilgrim mice in. I'm going to be using the warm gray colors. I finally got warm grays. I'm super excited because they're really great gray for little critters because they are a little bit warmer and more on the brown side than the cool tones, so it really just kind of adds some life to your critters. So I am going in with my lightest color, and that's going to be my W1, and I'm just kind of laying a base coat of color onto all 4 of those little mice. And then I'm going to come in with my W3, and I'm going to add a little bit more shading where the little mice would be darker. And this is still going to cover quite a bit of them with this tone because this is the basic tone that the whole mouse will be at the end, so I am going pretty heavy on this one also. But that's just going to help give these little guys, breathe a little bit of life into them. So you can see I'm just doing the same process for all 4 little mice. Sometimes when you have such a small area like this, you're able to do that. If it was a bigger area, I'd probably do each one individually just to make sure that my paper doesn't dry out and I'm still able to get a smooth blend by the time I come back in with my next tone. But since these guys are so small and I'm able to kind of fly from one to the next so quickly, it doesn't really need the extra time of doing them one at a time. So this is my W5, and it's going to be a nice darker coat of just giving those really heavy shadows right where the shadows would be the darkest, so their little feet and right underneath all their little hats and such. And so then I'm just going to work backwards, and I'm going to come back in with my W3 and blend out that W5. And then at the very end, I'm going to come back in with my lightest tone, my W1, and blend that back in throughout the whole mouse to kind of finish out the blending. So I have not done Copic coloring in a while, and I was super excited. I've been doing a lot of coloring with my Zig Clean Color markers, which are fabulous, but it was fun to go back and work with my Copics just to make sure that I didn't get out of practice. It had been so long. I was like, man, am I still going to be able to blend? But I was able to get a good little blend with these guys. I think they are super fun. This is a really cute set to use on the Thanksgiving table, I thought, because they've got those adorable little hats, and I just think they are too perfect. So now that the little mice are all colored, I am going to come in with some R20, and I'm going to give them some rosy little cheeks because they're clearly stuffed on Thanksgiving dinner and their little cheeks are flushed, so we've got to do that. And then I'm just coming back in with the W1 lightest tone and blending out that little pink on their cheeks. And then I'm going to use the same R20 to color in all their little ears here, and then I did feel like that was a little bit bright, so I came back in with the same W1 and just colored over that so that it toned down their little pink ears a little bit. And now I'm going to color the little hats on the little boy mice. And I'm going to switch over to my cool grays, and it's kind of an opportunity to see the difference between the warms and the cools and the different tone that you get when you use those different grays. So I am starting with a darker tone here, and I'm just kind of coloring most of the hat because it is ultimately, I want it to look black, but I wanted it to not be just a flat black. So I'm using a variance of these gray tones. So now I'm coming in with my really dark C7 here, and I'm kind of going over that base coat that I've already laid down to kind of be able to spread it out there. And then I'm going to go back again with, oh my gosh, I have an even darker one. Geez, I'm just really making this black. So there's my really black tone right on the edge there, and then I'm going to blend that back out a little bit with my mid-tone, and then come back in with my lightest tone and just put that little bit of shadow right on the edge that provides just a little bit of dimension for his little hat. So you can definitely see the difference between the warms and the cools here. The cools definitely lean a lot more towards the black spectrum, whereas the warms are more on the brown side. So for the little gal's little hat, I wasn't sure what color, if there was like a standard color for this type of little hat, but I wanted to pull in the color scheme on my pattern paper. My little brown frame there has a very thin, detailed little dainty swirly orange line going through that's got little acorns and swirlies and stuff. So I wanted to bring in some of that orange in my little mice. So I am taking my darker color and just going ahead and, actually no, this is my lighter color, I apologize. I'm putting my color in on the edges. I'm sorry I got out of frame here. I was zoomed in and I kind of lost track of where I was at. But fortunately I'm doing two, so you can still see one. And then I went in with my darkest color and put that right on the edges, and then I'm coloring back over. I left the white in the middle because that's going to provide the highlight and be even brighter than where my coolest or my lightest color was. So now my little mice are all set. I am going to take a gold gel pen and color the little buckle on his hat just so it has a little bit of sparkle and shine there on it. And I just don't feel like I have a good Copic color that makes gold, so I like to come in with my little gel pen and do that. So I did go ahead and fussy cut all these little mice out, and now I'm going to take my Black Soot Distress marker and I'm going to paint the edges of all those fussy cut little pieces. I did not cut their little tails. I am going to show you how I solved that problem later, but I don't have the dies for this stamp set, and it's really hard to cut the little tails out, and I really kind of wanted the look of not having the white space around them, so I'm going to do a little trick with the tails later because I definitely was not skilled enough with my scissors to get those thin little tails out. So now that all the edges are painted and it looks like I cut those out perfectly with no mistakes, I'm going to move on to the next step of my project. And for that I'm going to bust out my Ranger craft mat as well as some distress inks here, and I am going to turn these little leaf die cuts into glorious fall leaves. So I have 3 colors of distress ink. I have got Fossilized Amber, Barn Door, and I believe that's Forest Moss is the one that I'm using. So now I'm just going to go over, I've got 12 of these little leaves. I'm going to put 3 on each of my place cards, and I'm doing half of them in the Fossilized Amber and half of them in the Barn Door. And so that is going to create a base coat of fall colors on these little leaves, and then I'm going to go back with the other color. So now I'm taking my Fossilized Amber and going on top of the red tone there and creating a little bit of an orange, and then I'm doing the same with the red on top of the yellow to create some orange variation. And I really wanted them to look like the way that fall leaves aren't, the color's not evenly distributed, it's kind of only on the tips or only on that one side or only on that one leaf. So I want it to be really kind of sporadic like that. So with the green, that's what I'm doing also, is just coming in and very lightly putting some green on the edges of the leaves and in some places just to give it that little tiny hint of variation there. So now that that is all taken care of, I'm going to take all of my little place cards, and I just use my trimmer to cut these slightly larger than that stitched rectangle frame that I cut, and I wanted a gold frame around all of these, so I'm going to go ahead and take some Versamark ink, and I am going to smush that ink all around the outside of the front of this place card. So this is a way that you can create a nice shiny gold border without having to cut any more paper, or like gold glitter paper. And I have got some gold sparkly glitter embossing powder, and I am just going to dump that embossing powder all over the entire front of this card where I put that Versamark ink. And I am going to do this for all 4 place cards, and then I'm going to heat set them. And now you can see that that beautiful sparkly gold is all around the outside. And then when I come in with my little frame that I cut earlier, I'm just using my ATG gun to put some adhesive on the back of that, and I pop that onto my card. It's going to give me a really pretty gold frame around the outside that is permanent. It's not going to rub off because it's not glitter that I applied. It's embossing powder that's been heat set and is stuck there permanently. So it's a really nice way to kind of create your own sparkly paper. So a nice little tip there. So now I have all those brown frames glued on, and now I'm going to assemble my card. So I'm just taking some of my little leaves and my little mouse and kind of figuring out where I want things to go here. And I decided that I liked that little layout, so I'm going to take some of my glue dots, and I'm using micro glue dots for this, and I'm just going to adhere the little leaves using those glue dots in the corners here. And you can go as heavy or as light on the glue dots as you like. I just put a couple on the back because these are place card holders. They're not going to get sent through the mail. They're not going to do anything like that. So I didn't think I needed tons of adhesive on there. And then for my little mouse, I did want that to be kind of the focal point. So I am going to take a foam square from Best Creation and just pop one of those on the back of her there and stick her in the corner right in front of that leaf. So now she gets to be bada bing bada boom, the focus of your little place card. And you can see the little square there. Oh, here's how I fix her tail. I'm just going to use my black gel pen and draw tails in because that's how I had to do it. So that's just a little trick. If you've got a part that's really hard to cut out, sometimes if it's a simple enough part, because I am not a drawer by any means, you're able to just take a pen and pop that right back in there. I'm going to use some autumn, what are these called? Autumn sprinkles. These are by Doodlebug, and stick a couple of those on each one of these to add a little bling. And then that white spot in the middle is where you would write the name of the person sitting at that spot on the table. So this is the last one. I'm just kind of showing you that I did all of these the same. And those are my place cards, so that is just a fun little fall project I wanted to share with you guys before the big fabulous news of the giveaway. So I cannot wait to give away some fun stuff to you guys because I have got to tell you, I am in shock that I already have 200 subscribers. You guys are amazing. So I'm going to give 2 of these Thankful My stamp sets away and 1 of these beautiful Paper Garden stamp sets, which was the September stamp of the month by Close to My Heart. So this is a look at the project you can make if you win one of those glorious Thankful My stamp sets by Lawn Fawn. So cute. I'm going to list all the supplies I used over at my blog. Go ahead and hit subscribe. But first you should definitely go check out the giveaway because hint hint, subscribing is one of the ways that you can get an entry. So click here, go enter the giveaway over at my blog. Please continue to watch and see more crafty, fun videos. Thank you so much and have a great day.